If you are a woman in her 60s, in her early 60s, you probably are starting to realize that there are a whole range of challenges that you face with exercise that maybe you haven't been challenged with in your earlier years. And these are stories that we hear a lot. People find it difficult to start a new exercise program. People find it difficult to understand what type of exercise to be doing, to make sure that they're doing those exercises in a correct way, so you're not causing more problems than you're solving. People find it difficult to continue a long-term exercise program. And again, these are stories that we hear a lot because that early 60-year-old age group is one of the most highly represented demographics that we work with here at Range of Motion. And the stories are consistent. And we hear some wonderful stories. We hear beautiful stories of the first time that people get to meet their grandkids. And we hear great stories of going for a walk with the dog every morning, and the extra time that people get to spend with their families. But we also hear some more sad stories too. We hear the stories of grandparents not being able to pick up their grandkids because of back pain. We hear stories of people having to do that embarrassing crawl across the room after playing with the grandkids or after playing with the puppy because they can't stand up without crawling to that chair to help themselves up. We hear stories of people who feel like their best years are behind them, and that the last 2 or 3 years has really started to see that downward spiral. And we hear stories of a lot of women in their early 60s who start to look in the mirror and see their mother, see their parents, and all the challenges and all the health issues that they had to go through. And we hear stories of people feeling like they're underrepresented, that there aren't people who can help their particular age group, who understand their particular problems. We hear stories of people losing confidence and not being open to challenging themselves and not walking on uneven ground because they're afraid that they're going to fall over. People who have to sit down to put their shoes on because they can't balance on one leg anymore. People who are having trouble doing the things that are happening every day in life, walking up and down stairs and getting out of breath, and walking up hills and getting out of breath. And these stories are common. And people feel like they're alone. And people feel like they are the only ones who are facing these problems. But we hear them again and again and again. And the good news is that when these problems are common, when everyone is having these same issues, we sort of know how to fix them and we know how to help these people. So I thought I'd just jump on and just share a couple of tips and a couple of things that have worked really well in the clients that we have worked with and continue to work with, these people in their early 60s, these women in their early 60s. So here are a few of our tips for ways that you can start to end that downward spiral and reverse it and be a healthier 65-year-old than you were at 60, a healthier 70-year-old than you were at 65. The first big tip is not too late. It's amazing how much you can do in a short amount of time. It is not too late in your early 60s to turn things around. Time and time again, we have seen huge improvements, huge spikes in people's ability just by starting, even starting at that point in their life. Our second tip, make sure you're not exercising for the sake of exercise. At this age, you don't need to be good at going to the gym. There are no prizes for you being a good gym goer. The prizes are for the person who can be an involved grandparent. The prizes are for the people who can go for long walks every day, who can walk on the beach, who can swim. This is where the real prizes in life are. So make sure that whatever exercise program you're doing is designed to make sure that you are improving your capacity to do life, to do the things in life, to do the stuff in life, whatever those things may be. Our third tip, it's easy to get strong. It doesn't take a lot of work. You can do a very small amount of work, and we see benefits within a couple of weeks where people weren't able to get up off a low chair, that sort of rock forward and back to try and get off a low couch. They didn't have to do that anymore. It can happen quickly. And the good news is if you start getting strong quickly, you will feel very quickly like you're improving. And if you feel like you're improving quickly, there's more chance that you're going to keep coming back and you get this positive feedback loop where you get healthier and healthier and stronger and stronger. Our fourth tip, consistency is the most important thing. I'm not super concerned about what type of exercise you're doing. I'm not super concerned about how many times per week you're exercising. What I am looking at is that you turn up week after week and just keep ticking the boxes. I'm not trying to have any major wins, not trying to break any major records, not trying to have any super fast improvements, but just turning up, consistently and quietly and methodically doing the work, because it does work. And in the end, consistency is what you need. Our next tip is around specificity. What does this mean? It means that one size does not fit all. You shouldn't be following a cookie cutter approach to your exercise. You need to do the stuff that you need to do. So you need to identify those areas in your life that are maybe impacting your quality of life and work hard on those things. Not a general approach that would suit a general population that maybe a girl in her early 20s is going to be doing, because her needs are different to yours. You need to be making sure you're doing things that are specific to your stage of life and what your lifestyle looks like. Tip number 6, there's no rush. Sort of. There is a rush to get started, because you exercising at age 60 is going to be easier for you to get results than it will be at age 61, which will be easier than age 62 and so on. So yes, there is a sense of urgency to get started, but once you start, there's no rush to improve, because once you start, you're already starting to reverse that downward spiral and things are starting to trend up in the right direction. So yes, there's an urgency to get started, but once you start, there's no rush. You don't have to get anywhere by next week. We're talking multi-year, multi-decade projects here to gradually help people get fitter, happier, healthier, stronger for the long run. If we're working with 60-year-olds, we're focusing on their ability in their mid-80s. That's what we're looking to maximize. We're not looking to get them looking good in a bikini on the beach next summer. We're not looking to help them lift 100 kilos off the ground in 2 weeks' time. We're looking for them to be functional, happy, independent, and confident members of the community in 2 decades' time. Final tip, starting is the hardest part. It's really tricky and it's scary. It's scary walking into somewhere that is new for you, that's out of your comfort zone. And we understand that. It is scary and it is intimidating. And as much as we work around this, starting any new thing can be scary. So just be brave at the start. All you need is that moment of bravery to make a commitment and get started, because I promise you that once you take that first little step, things get easier. It's just like pushing a broken down car. Once you start that car moving, you have a little bit of momentum, it's much easier to keep it moving. Final takeaway for you guys. You're not alone. You are not the only person who feels like this. It is much more common than you may think. You are not alone. There is hope. There is something you can do. So be brave. Make that start. Stay consistent, and you will be amazed at what you can achieve.